achievement of JSCR.
Please remain seated while the tram is in motion. Thank you.
It is indeed an exciting time to be here. On this tour, you will share and experience the spirit and the history that is the Johnson Space Center.
This building also houses the Space Food Systems Laboratory, where food scientists develop and process food for space flights. Most food is made from scratch and then freeze-dried or thermostabilized. Since there is no cold storage for food on the station, these scientists have developed more than 100 foods that meet nutrition and palatability requirements and can be stored up to 3 years at room temperature. If you look off to your left across the field, as you can see, it was in this building in July 1969 that Flight Director Gene Francis...
Okay, come on. Mission Director. Chief Microphone duty.
And we will get started. In the unlikely event we'd have to vacate the room, we're going to be going out the same way y'all came up. If that's blocked, we'll use this exit right here. How's everybody doing this morning?
Wonderful.
Good. Y'all woke up and came up those stairs?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But just to let you know, by the way, those stairs are part of the astronaut cardio training program. Okay, so good for the heart. Folks, my name is Sam. I'll be your host in here for the next few minutes. Okay, folks, we can please hold it down so they can hear us in back. Thanks. What I'm going to do today is tell you a few things about mission control, the way it was back in the 60s. But this is where our journey to space began, right here in 1965. We opened this up, our first mission control. There you go. Everything is authentic. The only thing that was not here in the 60s that is in this room is me. All right? Now, that said, this room that you're in is called the viewing area. Typically, who would be in here during a mission to space would be families of the astronauts. We've had presidents of the United States from Johnson to Bush. We've had Queen Elizabeth sitting right here in the front row. We've had tons and tons of politicians in and out of here over the years, unfortunately. Actors, actresses, every time there was a movie made about mission control or NASA, the actors would like to come in and get a feel for it, if you would. And before you ask, the last famous one we had in here was a fellow named Tom Hanks. And yeah, I'm excited too, he's one of my favorites. But anyway, Tom Hanks was here for about a week and a half, and he was all over the building here. He was in and out of this area. They took a lot of pictures. They were actually wanted to film Apollo 13 here, but their cameras back then were still big, so they couldn't fit between the aisles. So what he and Ron Howard did was took a lot of pictures, went back to Hollywood and recreated this. And this is kind of interesting. This is one of 5 mission control rooms we have in this building here in Houston. This is the most popular, simply because everyone that comes here wants to see the old mission control that put man on the moon. So everybody loves the mission. No 2 plaques are the same because no 2 missions were the same. But what would happen back in the days is the astronauts would get the design, they'd have to then get it approved. Then what they would do is they'd get a patch made just like that, and the patch would go on their suit and they would go out in space like that. So that's about the plaques. Now, while we're over there talking about the plaques, every mission control room, I mentioned we had 5 mission control rooms, everyone has their own set of flags on the surface of the moon. One of the first things they did was they put the United States flag in the soil. Well, when they were planning this, they says, what happens if we get up there and the flag does not work? So someone come up with the idea, we'll have 2 flags on every mission to the moon, a backup flag. And that's what that one is. That has actually been to the moon and back twice now. It was on Apollo 11, our first trip, and it was on Apollo 17, our second trip. But that was the backup for that era. Now, right below it, and it's kind of funny, when we started out, I told you, I mentioned the word museum. This place is like if they were doing and looked at the flight director as if say, what do we do? Because we've never had that problem before. Well, the fellow working flight director desk that day was Gene Kranz, colorful old character, still around. And he took a couple deep breaths and formulated a plan. First thing he did is told his assistant that he needed the manufacturing reps that helped build the rocket. And then he opened up our simulator room, got an astronaut in, and started running some different scenarios. So while it wasn't an immediate solution, he did get the ball rolling. There's 6 astronauts on board today, 3 Russians, 2 US, and 1 German. And it's kind of interesting because they circle the globe every 90 minutes. The astronauts on board see 16 sunrises, 16 sunsets every day. So that's pretty cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we've got time for a question or two. If anybody's got any questions, yes.
Ahead and on your right, you'll see a large gray building. The Space Environment Simulation Laboratory houses two very large vacuum chambers, both of which are National Historic Landmarks.
It's also called Building 9. We're about to watch a short video, so if you'll direct your attention to one of these screens, it'll give you an idea of what kind of things happen inside, and then we'll go upstairs to take a look.
It takes more than just wanting to go to space to get prepared to make the trip. It takes a lot of study and practice here on Earth. Since the 1960s, America's astronauts have studied and trained for their space flights right here at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. That work starts in classrooms. Then the astronauts get hands-on training in this building, the Space Vehicle Lock-up Facility. The facility is 8 stories tall and 2 football fields long, big enough to hold full-scale lockups.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Building 9. This is the training facility astronauts will come to before their missions to the space station. All of these modules you see out here with the names on them are on a scale 1-to-1 with the actual space station. So these are life-size, very accurate, and this is what the astronauts will get prepared with. The station in total is the length of a football field, and inside has the same space as a 6-bedroom mansion. So there's a lot to learn about the space station beforehand. The space station is a group effort of about 15 different countries at this point, each from different space agencies from all across the globe. The first 2 to join together were the Russian Space Agency and, of course, NASA. Since then, all of the space agencies and countries who contributed each module. So the last module on the left is the Russian service module called Zvezda, which means star. This was one of the first ones to go up. It's a really important one because it has all of the living quarters that the astronauts will camp out in, and it has all of the laptops where they do a lot of the controls of the space station, as well as the sleeping areas and
La seule chose qui serait peut-être embêtante, c'est les Chinois, mais encore que maintenant ils bossent tous ensemble.
yeah, they just slow it down to safer
Aujourd'hui, on travaille
speed.
en collaboration. Oui, ça ce sera pas ici.
If you look to the left of those space shuttles, you'll see 2 capsule vehicles in the center of the room here. These are the capsules, which are the future generation of NASA's spacecraft that's going to take astronauts into deep space. They're designing this to be able to eventually take astronauts. First test flight where they're going to test the heat shield is December this year.
Push people in.
No, it's unmanned.
The first manned spaceflight in that capsule is probably going to be around 2017. If I could get all of your attention, please keep your voices down for just a few more minutes. This robotic arm here on the right side, this very tall light green arm that looks like a crane, is a mock-up of the space station arm, which is called Canadarm. It's a really important part of the space station because it helped construct it. It was assembling all of the pieces in the early days. Today it still helps out with the astronaut spacewalks and will attach any incoming cargo vehicles and sort of reel them in and help them dock. If you scan over to the left and look down below us, just outside of the window, you'll see a humanoid robot hanging off of a blue frame on a harness. This robot's called Triton.
We'll pause here for a moment. 3 days after the loss of Columbia, President George W. Bush came to JSC and spoke these words.
To leave behind Earth and air and gravity is an ancient dream of humanity. For these 7, it was a dream fulfilled. Each of these astronauts had the daring and discipline required of their calling. Each of them knew that great endeavors are inseparable from great risks, and each of them accepted those risks willingly, even joyfully, in the cause of discovery. America's space program will go on. This cause of exploration and discovery is not an option we choose. It is a desire written in the human heart. We are that part of creation which seeks to understand all creation. We find the best among us, send them forth into unmapped darkness, and pray they will return. They go in peace for all mankind, and all mankind is in their debt.
Spaceflight is neither safe nor easy. And while we grieve,
这两个可以对接，然后说到太空以后就把这个都发射。